Hey, what is up and what is going on, everybody on my channel? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, I'm actually going to be telling you guys, is it actually worth it switching to keyboard and mouse? You know, if you guys did not already know, I myself used to be on Xbox controller way back in the day. In like season 6, season 7, I used to grind Xbox. I was actually very good at it. I was a fast editor. I was arguably one of the better controller players for the time as well. So, you know, making that switch to keyboard and mouse was a huge jump for me. I'm going to tell you all the reasonings why it can be worth it and why it can't be worth it. Just make sure you stick all the way throughout the entire video so you can see every single point that I mentioned. It is very important before you make that decision. Anyways, let's get straight into the video.
So the first thing I really want to talk about is it can actually take 3 to maybe even 6 months to get average at the game if you're making a switch from controller. You know, there's so many binds and buttons you need to get used to. I personally played other computer games, you know, mouse and keyboard games before Fortnite, so I already had a little bit of experience. I didn't have to Kovacs as much. Actually, I've never even Kovacs, but I've never had to Kovacs. I've had pretty decent aim throughout. But you know, Fortnite is such a multi-mechanical game. There's the movement binds, which you're already binding 4 buttons to just moving forward, back, left, and right, which you realize that already takes up 4 clicks. You only have 5 fingers to work with on your left hand. So already by itself, having decent movement is going to be hard, because now on top of that, you need to click 5 different buttons for 5 different weapons. Then you also need to click 4 different build buttons, plus another edit button. You're going to be using 15 to 20 keys. You need to know your keyboard and have good muscle memory down pat with where all of your binds are. It is going to come with a lot of frustration. It's going to take you a lot of practice. It's going to be a lot of time to get good. So if you don't have a lot of time to switch over to mouse and keyboard to get to where you want to get to, I would not recommend switching. But if you do plan on doing this long term, and I'm talking upwards of 6+ months, I would definitely recommend switching to mouse and keyboard. I've enjoyed it a lot. The first thing that's really important and really easy to do, especially if you're in competitive, and way easier on keyboard than it is on controller, is actually tunneling. So when I'm talking about end game and you got to rotate from zone to zone, it is a lot easier to do so many different aspects of tunneling on keyboard than it is on controller. Obviously, you know, the top players can do that type of tunneling on controller, but you know, not everyone can do to the same ability as keyboards. If you put the top controller player beside the top keyboard player, the keyboard player can do a lot more versatile tunneling than the controller player can. One other thing I really want to mention about keyboard is there is way more room for improvement over time. You can get significantly better on keyboard, but it is requiring a lot more time. You can get better fast on controller, but you can't get as good as you possibly can on keyboard. So if you have a lot of time and dedication, like I mentioned earlier, I think switching over to keyboard is the right move. One thing I do want to talk about that is worse on keyboard than it is on controller is you will actually have worse AR and SMG aim from a distance. So, you know, when you're shooting someone from medium range with an AR or even far range, you're going to have to single tap and click on them. But, you know, if you're holding it down, your bloom's going to be off. You're not having the aim assist. It's going to be a lot harder. So you're going to have to hit the Kovacs. You'll get a lot more smaller pump hits than you did on controller. And what I mean by that is not hitting him as much. You can still hit more shots, but your shots are going to hit for less. So for example, if you were to shoot someone very close to his head on controller, that extra aim assist might bump you from a 187 to a 220 or something of that sort. Your damage is just going to hit for less on keyboard than it would typically on controller, because aim assist will lock on for a little bit, that little difference to make you hit that much higher. Although you do have more consistent pump hits. One thing I've noticed is I'm able to hit a lot more shots and a lot of jump shots, stuff like that, easier on keyboard than I am controller, because all you got to do is point your mouse and click on them. You just won't typically hit as high. Another thing you have to take in switching over to keyboard is it is way harder for movement. Like I mentioned earlier with the binds, you know, you need to be able to click, for example, me, Q, E, my 2-side mouse buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, X, C, and F, just to edit and pull out my guns and place my builds. And I'm using 2-side mouse buttons, which already take off 2 clicks for me. You know, that's already a lot of buttons to be clicking when you're not even clicking WASD, which is your move. So movement is significantly harder. It's hard to do all these complex builds and move around and have a stable, complete, fluent movement. So, you know, if you're one of those people who love the way you can move on controller, love how you're able to back up after you shoot someone so you're not just holding W down, because I found that was my hardest thing. Whenever I would shoot someone, I was so used to holding W down that I would try and back up in my head, but I'd be moving forward when I first switched over. So it is a lot harder to get used to movement on keyboard, but you can get used to it, but you'll still never be able to do things controller players can do. One other side bonus of switching to keyboard is way faster editing. It is not even close, and way more consistent editing. It is not even close. Obviously, you know, ping has a major factor, so a controller player who's really advanced and a fast editor can edit way better if he's on 0 ping and he practices than someone who barely practices and is on 40 ping. But if you're talking about someone at equal level category, there are way faster keyboard editors than there are controller editors, because you can double edit bind, you can single edit bind, you can time your clicks way quicker than you can push a button in, because it's just a click of a button instead of pushing a button in. Completely different. So editing is definitely an advantage. If you love editing, I think keyboard is the move. One other thing, as you guys can see from the footage on the screen right here, sniping is so much easier. I'm already really good at sniping as it is. I'm really good at aiming stuff ahead. I'm just a very good overall sniper in the game. But let me tell you, switching to mouse and keyboard made it so much easier to snipe. I hit all of my snipe shots, and anyone who's ever played with me can vouch. I get so many headshots. You know, there's probably a lot on the screen right now. I just wanted to show you guys. But sniping is way easier. So if you enjoy sniping and you want to switch over and, like, you know, start hitting some headshots and impressing some people hitting snipes, keyboard does make a difference. One other thing that is also very, very, very easy to do on keyboard, it is way easier to hip fire while jumping or moving. If you're in a box with someone and you pump him, or, you know, use the lever and you switch to your SMG, on controller, to jump around and move your analog stick and be right on him is a lot harder than on keyboard to jump around and just keep your mouse on him while you're holding the button down. It is way easier to spray your P90 or your AR in a box on somebody if you're on keyboard instead of controller, although aim assist does have a big impact in a box as well. I'm talking about jumping and moving. If you're talking about just walking forward, it is a different story, or walking to the left and crouching, that's a different story. I'm talking about jumping and hip fire. This is also something that's very drastic for a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of you controller players can also attest to this and be like, yeah, you know what, he's right. I'm talking about when your controllers break. Products do not break as much on keyboard. Tell me in the comments down below how annoying it is when you get a controller and, you know, you get some stick drift or the buttons double click, stuff like that. I know that happens all the time on controller. I've had this same Model O mouse and Ducky keyboard for a year and a bit now, and there has been no problems with them. I definitely think switching to keyboard is better if you just want to not worry about your products breaking as much. But anyways, that's going to be everything from me, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please smash that like button. Also subscribe, it goes a long way. And comment Mayo for 80K so I know who made it to the end of the video and who are my loyal supporters that are watching my videos. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's been your boy Mayo. I'm out. Peace.